Hello, welcome to Viscount Leisure. I'm Charles and I'm going to take you on a quick tutorial video around this tribute that we've got here. We'll just make sure that we know what we're doing when we get to a campsite, how everything works inside the van and what we need to do and how everything operates, okay? So we take the van obviously to a site and we're going to get to our pitch. What we are going to do is try and level our van. So the reason where you're going to level a van is you're going to lose some leveling wedges, so you're going to need to get yourself some of those. And what we do, depending on where the van's not level, we drive the van up onto some ramps, okay, so we're level front to back or potentially left to right depending on our pitch. Okay, so depending on how high we want to go, we only drive up so far up the ramp and so on and so forth, all right, until we're nice and level front to back, left to right. That way everything works nicely inside, and the most important thing is that you're comfortable when you're inside the van. Okay, once the van's level, you're then pretty much set to get on with a few other bits. What you may want to do before you get to your pitch is to fill up your water. Most sites will have a motorhome service point with a hose pipe where we can fill up our fresh water tank, which everything goes in through there through a hose pipe. Okay, but before you do that, you want to make sure that you have closed your drain valves for your tank. So this one here, the blue one, is for our freshwater tank, and this one down here is for our grey water tank. So that's all of our grey water. All right, so we can close those. Otherwise, if we fill the tank up and we leave the fresh one open, it will obviously just drain down to the floor. Okay, so we're all nice and level. We filled up our water, okay, which goes into there. That's a lockable filler cap there. Then we're ready to start getting the van set up. Okay, so we'll start on this side. This is obviously our door into the van. Okay, it pins back on this gas strut at the top that you can see. Our bin is on the door. Our door handle is there. When we're inside the van and we want to lock the door, we push this button here forward, so that one locks it so nobody can open the door from the outside. And we want to open the van, we just use the handle like so. All right, of course we've got our window here with a blackout blind for night time so that we can black out our cabin. We've then got our two fridge vents here, so that our fridge is sat behind here. Three-way fridge, which will work on gas, it will work on mains electric, and it will also work on the van when you are travelling as well. All right, so it uses heat to cool, so it pulls the cold air in from the bottom, expels the hot air out from the top. Okay, nothing you need to do with them, but just so that you're aware of what they are. We've got another little cubby hole in here, all right, so we can store stuff inside the van there, as you can see. We've also got our toolkit just sat behind here as well, all right, for our jack and everything like that. And our two Leisure batteries are sat just in the battery box here, and then the one down underneath here as well. These lockers have nice rubber seals. I would suggest getting some silicone spray and periodically just going around all of our seals and all of our lockers and doors just to keep them soft and supple, so they're doing what we want them to be doing. We've also got our canopy, as you can see, across the top there. All right, so we have our wind out handle here, which you'll find just in the locker we've just been looking in. The way this operates is quite simple. This goes into the slot up the top. Okay, easily done sometimes with one hand, and then we just wind out the canopy like so. Easy to do whilst holding a camera. So that winds out. Okay, do be careful with these though. Obviously, if it is windy, all right, they don't like the wind and they can get taken by the wind. They're like a big sail, so I would suggest if it is any kind of wind, then I would roll them away, and certainly at night time as well, just so that you don't wake up to any problems. You then have some legs which will pop out from just inside here, okay, which are extendable. We then extend them down and peg them into the ground, so that just stops it moving around when we are on site. Okay, if it's raining again or windy, get rid of it, put it away, and then you're not going to have too many problems. All right, but it is a nice sun canopy and works very well. Once you get down to the height where you can actually get those legs down, I would then suggest putting the legs down and then kind of walking it out on the legs, just to take some of the weight of the canopy rather than just the arms. Okay, then when we're finished, what we do, put this back in here and we roll her away. Excuse the bad camera work while I roll this away. There we go. Okay, then a bit of a fiddle to get this out, but you just basically turn it round until, there we go, until she releases. And then that goes into our locker here. These are all of course lockable as well, so when we're traveling, make sure we've got all of our lockers locked. Then we'll go round to this side here. This is our mains lead, so you'll need one of these to get your van up and running. So when you're on site, you can get mains power into your van, and that will then provide you with domestic power inside the van, basically. All right, so that plugs into the side of the van, then plugs into the point on site. We've got a boiler flue here as well, so we've got a Truma boiler on board, which has a cover on it that you can see. When you are running it on mains, you can just leave the cover on. When you're running it on gas, you need to remove this cover, otherwise A, your boiler won't light, but secondly, obviously you've got nowhere to exhaust the fumes. All right, so that's where that goes. Anyway, just so that you're aware of that. Of course, you want gas on board as well, so you're going to need some of that. So we've got set up for running on propane at the moment. We've got 2 bottles, or room for 2 bottles in here, I should say. When we're traveling, always making sure that they are strapped in, and then also making sure that your bottle is turned off as well. All right, just for safety. But then once you get to site, you want to open your bottle up. That will allow the gas flow to come through our gas hose into our regulator and then through into our van. This gas hose goes into our bottle on an opposite thread, so it's not lefty loosey righty tighty, but go the other way round. All right, and it goes in on a hand tight wheel, so there's no need for any spanners or anything, but you do want to make sure that's nipped up quite tightly, just so we don't get any spillages of gas, of course. All right, so just there's a nice rubber seal on the end, so just tighten it up, turn the bottle on, and she's ready to go there for you. All right, but again, room for 2 bottles, but the key bit is here to make sure they're strapped in and make sure that is turned off when we're traveling, and then you can't go too far wrong. We of course have a toilet on board, as we know. All right, so we've got a Thetford cassette toilet, and this is how we remove our cassette from the side of the van. Once our cassette is full, when we've used the toilet, this is where we come to. There is a light which will illuminate to let you know that it is time to empty it. But once we get to that point, we come out here, lift up the handle, pull the whole unit out. Okay, and then there you can go. She's there. Now, it's on wheels and it's got an extendable handle, so you can wheel that to your service point where there'll be a designated spot to empty your chemical toilet. But you must use that point there, okay, as I say, because we do put chemicals in these toilets. Then once we're there, we open the arm up, which just pulls across, take the cap off of the end, and then we press the orange button here. What that does is release the pressure inside the unit and makes it much easier when we're getting rid of all the bits and pieces inside the toilet, okay. I then suggest rinsing out again, making sure we're getting rid of any of the remnants inside, and then getting ready to prime it again. What we want to then be doing once it's empty and it's all nice and clean is then get some chemical. You can either use blue or you can use green chemical, so you want to make sure you've got some of that. What that does is break all the stuff down inside the unit and makes it smell nicer, and also easier to empty when it comes down to it. All right, so the instructions for what you put in there will be on the bottle of whatever you have, but you dilute it with a bit of water, put it in there, and that goes to work for you. This actually doubles up as a measuring cap as well if you need it, but there we go. And then to put it back in, we lift it up, open our hatch. Again, easily said and done with the holding a camera. All right, that just slides in and locks into place like so. All right. And it's as simple as that, really. What I would also suggest is every time you obviously finish and you've used your toilet, clean it out, wash it out, put it back clean, so we're not leaving any water in the van that we don't need to. We've also got an external shower point here, great for washing our boots, dogs, kids, whatever we want to be doing. Okay, that just plugs into the side like so, nice and easy. All right, just pulls out. It's a little notch in there, so push it in and twist. You can see we've got hot and cold coming in here, so we just turn this almost like a tap to what we want to do. That's all the way over to hot, and then we just press the button on the end, and there we go. That should be nice hot water coming out of there, which it is, because we've got all of our hot water and boiler running inside the van at the moment. So that's that. To remove, pull and shut, and we'll just put that inside your gas locker here, so you'll know where you'll find that. Okay. Coming around the back, obviously it's just the back of your van. There is a reversing camera up the top there, as you can see, but we can be able to see that once we're inside the van anyway. So nothing really to report on this side. The only other thing on this side to report is an external gas barbecue outlet. You'll need a bullfinch fitting to go in there to make it operate, but that means we can run our gas barbecues outside without having to take our bottles out of the van if we so wish to do so. Okay, that is pretty much that for the outside. You can see your awning light just up there as well, that's illuminated at the moment. And then what we're going to do is go in and start going through the motions of what we would do after that. So we've leveled our van, we filled it up with water, we're all ready to go. Now we've got to make sure that everything is ready in here to receive water. So first things you're going to do is come and close all of your taps. You will have left all of your taps open, and we'll talk about that later as to why we'll do that. It's basically so that we don't leave any water in the system at all, and then we allow air to travel through it. Then what we're going to do is come under our seat here and turn and close our boiler drain valve. Now that's this yellow switch down here, okay, in the horizontal position at the moment. You will find it like so, but you're going to come and flick that down, and that means that when we start pumping water around the van, it doesn't just drop down to the ground. All right, so that is that side of things. We are then going to come to our isolators under here. You can see this one's for my the electric side of my for my boiler, and this one's the electric side of my heating. So if I'm plugged into mains, I'll need to switch those on there in order to be able to use my heating inside the van via electric, that is. Then what I'm going to do is come and turn my panel on. All right, so I've got my on off button just up here, that's this one here, and I'm then going to turn on my water pump, which is this one here. Okay, and then what that will allow me to do is then to start to purge my system. Now I've got water in my tank underneath the van, but what I need to do is fill that boiler up, and then I need to get that water from the boiler to the tap. So I'm going to come to my tap, turn it over to hot, turn the tap on, and you can see I've got a nice steady flow of water there because I've already done this. But what you will get is a load of coughing and spluttering and a load of gurgling. The reason for that is you've got to push all the air out of that boiler, fill the pipes in the boiler up with water, and then come to the tap. So leave it coughing and spluttering until you get a nice steady flow of water like that, and turn off the tap. Then do the cold side. This will be much quicker because we're not filling up a boiler, but there we go. Once you've got a steady flow of water, shut the tap off. You then want to do that in your bathroom and your shower as well. That's get then all the air out of our water system and replaced it with water, which is in essence what we want. Okay, so that's now all done, which is good. So now what we want to be able to do is starts to heat everything up. So as I said, all the controls for our boiler are down here for hot water side of things. So we want to turn the electric on here, and then if we're running it on mains electric, we use this side. Okay, so I've got off in the middle, it's like a little rocker switch. Up is 1 kilowatt of power, and then 2 is 2 kilowatts of power. Okay, so depending on what site I'm on, I might have access to different amounts of power. Again, I know this setting is fine for me here, so I push it down there, and then that will start to heat the water up in my boiler here. Okay, if I was off grid and I didn't have mains electric, I could then light my boiler on the gas either up to 50 degrees or 70 degrees, and I'll just quite simply switch and select what temperature I want my water to be. All right, so I can put it on 70. That then lights the boiler on the gas and starts the heating of the water up in there. I can also run it in conjunction with each other. If I want to heat that water up really quickly, I could put it on 2 kilowatts of power and up to 70 degrees on gas, and that's going to heat that up really quickly. All right, but not forgetting to turn that off afterwards on the gas side, because there's no point in wasting your gas if you are running onto the electrics. Right, heating. Again, we can run that on gas and electric, or both, the same as the hot water. Okay, so again, if I want to use the mains power, if I'm plugged into mains, I need to make sure this isolator switch is turned on, and that's indicated, of course, by the red light, as you can see. Then to use the electric, if I'm plugged into mains, I come up to my little panel just here, which as you can see is off at the moment because the arrow is pointing to the 0. I can either have 0.5 kilowatt of power, 1 kilowatt of power, or 2 kilowatts of power. Again, depending on what site I'm on, what else I'm using inside the van, of course, all this makes a difference. So you may go to a site, put this on 2 kilowatts of power, have your boiler running on 2 kilowatts, have your fridge on, then you put your kettle on, and you find you keep tripping out your van, okay, on our trip switches here. That means I'm trying to draw too much current. All right, so I may come in here, turn this down to 1 kilowatt, turn my heater, my hot water down to 1 kilowatt, and then I'll be able to use my kettle or my hairdryer or whatever I want to do. So if you keep tripping out your van, it means you're trying to draw too much current. So that's why we have the option of being able to change this. And then to change the actual heating itself, on the electric side, we've got a little black dial in the middle, so I can go all the way from 1 all the way up to 9, all right? And then you'll soon work out what you need. Obviously, the higher it is, the hotter it is. Kind of simple as that, really. I can then, obviously that just works the fire side of things here, so this is sort of the central focal point for the heating there. But I've also got heating ducts, as you can see, all this tubing running through here, and I've got outlets, so I can use it as a blown air heating system as well. So my fan is all done from here, so I can leave it on automatic, I can leave it off, or I can have it on manual, all right? And then I can just change the fan speed by using, you can hear that kick it in now. So obviously the higher the number, the more the fan's working, but again the noisier that is as well. All right, so I would just leave it on automatic, okay, and then it will just maintain the temperature within the van. Okay, of course these ducts are all, you can turn them off by blocking them off or change the airflow, whatever you want to do. Now again, if I'm off grid and I don't have mains power, I can shut this off here and I can light the fire purely on the gas. It's really easy to do. Push down and turn. There we go, that's lit. When you look down through the little hole here, you'll be able to see the pilot light, and then I can change the heat by quite simply turning it all the way up to 5. Obviously it's the hottest and then 1 is not. So it's just a question of playing around, getting the right heat going, all right? Again, you can still use the fans in the same regard on the gas side of things, so that doesn't change. It's just you've got gas here and you've got mains electric there. Again, you can use both at the same time if you wish to. I don't think you'll probably find the need to, but it is possible to do it if you want to. All right. Okay, so now we looked at these switches up here. Let's have another quick look. This is our PSU, so our power supply unit. All right, so we've got 2 sides of power. 12 volt is coming from this side, which is provided by our Leisure battery, and this side is provided by our mains power when we are plugged in. Okay, it also acts as a battery charger as well, which you can see is on up the top there. So if this isn't turned on and you're plugged into mains, it won't be charging your battery if that isn't on. So if you need to change a fuse, it tells you what they all do on the front. Okay, so that's all pretty self-explanatory. They're just blade fuses like you would find in your car, and it tells you what fuse you want to be using as well. And this side is our mains power. As I say, again, it tells us this is for our hob and our sockets and our heater and our boiler and our fridge is all on here. So if anything trips out, this is where you come to reset it. We've also got our main RCD situated just here. Okay, and that is where the power first comes in. If you'll have one of these at home as well, so it's exactly the same. But what I would suggest a little test is if you've plugged into mains and you're struggling to get anything working on mains, the chances are the problem is probably with where you're plugged into, not with your van. So we can test that from here. So this little yellow button here is our test button. So if I press that and this trips out, this drops, this blue switch, that tells me I've got power coming to it, so where I'm plugged into is fine. However, if I press the T and then nothing happens, this stays in the upwards position, then there's something wrong with where I'm plugged into, and you need to go and have a look at that, because the posts on sites will also have one of these as well. So the chances are that's probably tripped out, or you're not plugged in with your cable properly, or something along those kind of lines. All right, but just a little test really more than anything. Hopefully you don't come across an issue, but if you do, it's nice to be able to work out exactly where the problem lies. Let's open all the other cupboards just to make sure we're not missing anything. Here we go. TV aerial situated in here. Okay, it's a directional aerial in the downwards position at the moment. When I get to site and I want to use a TV, I undo the locking nut just on the top here. Okay, and I can push the aerial up. That raises it above the van. Okay, and then gives me a better signal basically. All right, and I can twiddle this little arm down here. That changes the plane of the aerial to try and get a better signal if you need to. I've never really found the need to play with that, but there we go. The functionality is there if you need it. Obviously, remembering when we're going home and we're traveling, come in here and pull that down. We don't want to be taking trees out and things like that when we're driving along. That then goes through into our little booster here, which will which boosts the signal from here. A little on-off rocker switch on the top. and a little gain here. Leave it on maximum because I don't see the point in not having it on maximum. And then we got a little light here which will tell us how good our signal is. You can see I'm sort of between red and amber, which isn't good. But if I turn this up and push it up in the air, you can see that now turns green because my aerial is now higher up. And as it comes down, it goes red again. So it shows it does work by pushing it up in the air like that. Again, the little rocker switch here will turn it on and off, but this will turn off with the main panel as well. So don't worry too much about remembering to do that. Nothing really of note to talk about in there. In here, you've got your silver screens for the windows. Okay, just so that's where they are. It just keeps it keeps a bit more insulation on the front windows. They do have, I mean, they're for the side ones here. We do have blinds that go across the front here, which are quite easy to use. Just pull across and meet in the middle. All right, then we lock them back into place using these little lugs here. But your the other ones stick onto the windows here either side, and that obviously blocks the light and also keeps it a bit warmer as well. Okay. I'm not going to talk too much about the cab. We all know how to drive a car, but if you've got any questions when you pick the van up, just give us a shout. All right, but I won't teach you to drive today. Obviously, these seats swivel round. The way we use those is using these little handles just here, and then the seats will swivel. You may have to move them backwards and forwards in order to turn them round, but they turn around about 90 degrees anyway. And then of course we have our rear view camera here, or screen for the rear view camera for when we're reversing the van. That's where we will look to. In terms of blinds and all the windows, we have blinds and we have fly screens, okay, on anything that opens, and blinds on anything that just is a window, but I don't think we have any examples of that here. But anyway, that's how they operate. All right, the way the windows operate, these are all the same. Is we've got locking handles that we open. We open the window to the desired openness, if that's the right word. Okay, and then we've got these little locking nuts here, one on each side, and we just tighten those up, and that will hold the window at the desired openness. We can also lock the window in a slight of a breather position, okay, so in between the two, and that will allow us to lock the windows but still allow some airflow to come around the van. So if you were leaving the van for a period of time and it was really warm, you can still keep some air in here. Again, if you're leaving for any period of time while you're travelling, do make sure that they're completely shut. Okie dokie. Skylight again has a blind and has a fly screen. And the way these open is by pressing the button and pulling back, and all the way open. You then got some little ratchets that we can use to have it at whatever sort of position we want, really. But again, when travelling, make sure these are shut. The amount of times we see you go down the motorway and you see these open, and if catch a bit of wind, then yeah, that's no good really. Carbon monoxide alarm is sat up here, so we'll just test that and make sure that works okay. And we also have our other skylight up here, which is also what they call an omni vent. All right, so it has a blind, as you can see, and then the way we open the top of this is by using this little handle here, and that opens. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that will open it all the way up. And then we can turn the fan on by pressing the on button, and either have it as an extractor fan or as blowing air into the van, depending on what you want to do, and there are varying speeds of that, okay. So you got the arrows there which show you which way round that goes. Okay, we've got obviously light switches at the top here, so you can see they all do sort of different things around the van. You'll have a little play around with those and you'll soon figure out what they do. This one here does your awning light outside there. We've got a couple of other buttons on here to talk about actually. So this one, if I press the one with the battery with an L, that tells me the condition of my Leisure battery, which is full. This one tells me the condition of my vehicle battery, and this tells me how much water I've got in my fresh water tank as well. All right, so we can have a little play around with that as well. Fly screen on the door as well, so that's handy. And our table is just situated in here, so it's a freestanding table for our dining inside or outside of the van, of course. In terms of the bed, you've probably seen before, but the way we work this is these pull out. Okay, they meet the other side, and then we use the cushions, just turn them over. We sleep on the grey side here, okay, and then that is our bed going across the van side to side. So it makes a huge bed, to be fair. All these are pretty much big enough to use as two little singles actually as well, to be fair, so whichever way you want to do it. We've got a TV aerial here and a 240 volt socket. Again, these 240 volt sockets are only usable when you're plugged into mains, all right, and our TV socket is there, and a 12 volt socket there as well. So you can put a TV on here and watch that from anywhere in the van. Microwave is all built in. It is only usable when you're plugged into mains. It is a 240 volt microwave like the one at home. The way we wake it up is you've got a little eco button here. We press that 3 times, that wakes the microwave up. It took me a while to figure that out on these, but it's not obvious, but that's how you turn the microwave on. When you're traveling, take this out. As I say, it will crash and bang and dent stuff, so just take it out, slip it under a cushion or wherever you want to do, but don't travel with it in the van, in the microwave. I mean, the idea is to try and actually it'll rattle as well, so when you're traveling you want to take out all your bits and pieces that will rattle. Maybe a tea towel on here. You'll get your way around it. I say these things do rattle a little bit, but it's all, you'll soon figure out where the rattles are coming from, and you'll figure it out. And actually, the more stuff you put in them, they tend to rattle less. Okay, let's talk about the fridge. 3-way fridge, which is just situated just here. The way we open it is by pressing the button on the top and pulling it open. As you can see, that's nice and cold in there. We've had that one overnight, so we've just been making sure that's been working properly. We can either run it on mains power by pressing the, well, we have to turn it on first, of course, which is this button here. And then this is my mains power button, so I press it twice, and that will use my fridge on mains if I'm plugged in. So that's why it's got a picture of a plug. I can also run it on gas if I am, in the middle of nowhere, I don't have mains power. I can run the fridge on gas, making sure, of course, that I've opened my gas bottle first and I've got enough gas for that. And then when I'm driving, I can then push it over to this battery setting. It's beeping because the engine's not running at the moment, and I can run my fridge from the alternator of the car or the van. Bear in mind that that's not powerful enough to chill the fridge down, but it will maintain the temperature in it. So if you're going to go on a long journey, you might want to chill the fridge down first and then turn it over to that first afterwards. All right. So that's that. Also got a little freezer box section at the top as well, which is very handy indeed. In terms of the hob, 3 gas burner hob. Okay, again, you want to make sure that you've turned your gas on and you've got sufficient gas in the van to use them, of course. And it's just like you're lighting a gas hob at home, really. The igniter is just here, so I just turn it on, press it down, which releases the gas, press the lighter button, and there we go, that lights my hob. All right, and again, they all do it in exactly the same way. There we go. All right. We also have a grill and an oven, which is situated in here. So to turn the grill on, it goes one way, hold it down, press the igniter button, and then it lights the grill at the top. And then to light the oven, we turn it the other way, turn it to the gas mark that we need, light it, and there she goes, she lights at the back there. All right. More storage underneath here, and also my gas isolators as well. You shouldn't really need these, but if you do need to isolate a certain thing in the van, then this is where you would come to do it. Lots of drawers, lots of space in there. Again, when we're traveling, the tops of these you want to make sure that they're all the way down, otherwise they bounce around quite a lot. And again, the same with my sink as well, I would do the same. We've had the boiler on overnight, so we should have some nice hot water in here. It does get very hot, alright, so just bear that in mind, but of course you can mix it with some cold water as well. It's a mixer tap. And then we also have some 240 volt sockets here as well for our kettle or toaster or whatever. Air fryer. Air fryer is quite a good one for these, to be fair. That's just the wiring for your reversing camera on the back there, so nothing to worry about there. The other thing to talk about is in the bathroom, of course. So, in fact, have we got anything in here to talk about? So our carpets are in there. All right, and also our wardrobe, of course, as well. Right, the bathroom. Let's talk about the toilet first. So our toilet cassette that we looked at is sat underneath here. Okay, so we use the toilet in a normal way. this does spin round, all right, so you can have it at whatever angle you want. And we use the toilet in the normal way. We then flush the toilet by pressing the electric flush button just there, okay, and that will then, there we go, comes off of our fresh water tank, okay, and flushes the toilet like so, okay. And we then open the gate by using the handle underneath here, push it to one side, that opens the gate, everything in the toilet then drops down into the cassette, and then we just push this all the way back over. That then creates the seal between the cassette and your toilet and keeps all the smells out, and keeps it all away from you basically. But you do want to make sure that that is all the way over, that's very important, okay. Mixer tap sink in here. We also have another skylight here, all right, which opens slightly differently. We've got grey handles that we squeeze and then push up, and we can have it in any direction that we want. Shower is in here. We've got a hanging rail for hanging our wet things, and also a shower door, of course, which is held back on this little catch here. Again, when you're traveling, you want to make sure everything's nice and secure, so that it's not banging around all over the place and not broken when you get to where you want to be. Right, that's kind of it really for the inside. But what we'll do is we'll say we've been on holiday, we've had a nice time, and let's sort of de-rig the van, if you will. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and turn off my main panel up here. That turns off all my 12 volt inside the van. I'm then going to turn off my fridge by pressing that button there. But again, you may turn it over to the battery setting if you're going to be keeping stuff in the fridge while you're driving. Just bear in mind that this does run on a separate circuit to the main circuit, so if you forget to turn this off, it will drain your battery down. Then what we're going to do is start draining down our water systems, okay? So I'm going to come in here. Sorry, just lift that one up. And I'm going to open my boiler drain valve just there, and that will then drain all my water system down, okay? I'm going to turn off my isolator switch there. I'm going to turn off my isolator switch there. I'm then going to go to my taps and open them all, and I'm going to open them in between hot and cold. The reason I'm doing that is if you can get in the habit of doing that every time you finish with your van, then you're not going to go too far wrong, because in the winter time, obviously water freezes and it expands when it freezes, and the amount of times we see cracked pipes, cracked taps, ruined water systems because the freezing water's got in there and it's expanded and it's got nowhere to go because the taps are shut, and then starts cracking things. So if you just make it a habit to leave no water in the van, empty your cassette, empty your boiler, keep your taps open, you can't go too far wrong. All right, so that's quite an important little tip, I think. That's all done now, okay. So then what we're going to come in and start draining down some other bits. What I'm going to do is just put this away as well while I'm at it. Okay, just going to slide that in there. You can see where my boiler's starting to drain down. I've got a little trickle here, and we'll see that underneath the van. So there's all my hot water coming out of my boiler. I'm then going to put my cover to my boiler back on. There we go. I'm then going to disconnect my mains. My colleague's just given me the nod that he's unplugged it from our post. You want to unplug it from the post, or the other way round, depending on what you're doing. But basically, you don't want to be walking around with a live cable, all right? So if you unplug it from your post first and then out for your van, you can't go wrong. Also, if your mains lead comes on like a reel or it's all coiled up, what you want to be doing is making sure you're flaking it out and not leaving it on that coil. They draw a lot of current, they get very hot, especially in the summertime. Okay, so what we don't want is melty cables or anything like that, so flake it out. Even if you do it underneath the van so they don't look messy, but not on a coil, as I say, otherwise you're going to come a crop with that one. We're then going to come in and turn off our gas, because we're going to be traveling, so we just screw that down from the top. In fact, I'm actually going to remove this bottle because it's my test bottle. So as remember, it's on an opposite thread, so I go the other way to undo it. There we go, out it comes. And then undo that, and out she comes. Always, you see they've got a rubber seal on the end here, so always give it a little check just to make sure it's not cracked or anything like that. Right, there we go. And then what I'm going to be doing is draining down my tanks. So again, as you said, my grey water is the grey one, which makes life nice and easy. So we just turn that one way. all the way around 180 degrees. Okay, and then I'll do the same with my freshwater one just here. There we go. And then before we hit the road, we make sure all of our lockers are shut, locked, everything's stowed so it's not going to be all over the place. All right, and that's kind of it really. We'll have a quick look underneath the bonnet. All right, my jumping point, if I ever need to jump my van, the positive is here. Okay, and then you want to just earth it down. I would probably just put it onto this clip down here to earth it down. My coolant is there, screen wash here, power steering fluid is there, and my oil is there, and dipstick just down here. And then the way we open the bonnet on a Ford is slightly different to others, but you use your main key, which goes into here, and you can see you turn it 1 and then back the other way for 2, and then that will pop the bonnet. All right, but that is your Tribute and how it operates. There are instruction manuals you'll see on the seat there as well, but we are on the end of the phone if you need us to explain anything, and obviously any questions that you have when you pick up, we're here to answer them. Okay, so look, thanks for watching, and I hope that's been useful. Thank you.